Welcome to Wholesale Hotline. I'm Brent Daniels.
I'm Jamil Damji.
And I'm Jerry Norton.
And I'm Pace Morby.
Every week we bring you the best information on real estate investing.
Be sure to participate in the comments.
And subscribe.
Enjoy the show!
So thank you so much for calling Wholesale Hotline. Wow, that's great.
Welcome to Wholesale Hotline number 238. My name is Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP. Wearing the original here, guys. TTP swag. I love this. Jerry Norton, Jamil Damji. How are you guys?
Excellent. How are you?
I am on fire. You know what I was looking at? I was doing a calculation on how much real estate do you have to own to write off $1 million in income.
What is it?
And so let's make some let's take some things off the table. Let's take accelerated depreciation off the table. Okay. Let's not do that because we don't want to get stuck repaying the government back in case we need to sell some of these properties. We're just gonna go the straight 3.63. 3.63% is how much you can write off on a property, and it's only the building. Remember this, okay, guys? It's not just, oh, I own a house, it's worth $300,000. Yeah, but you only get to write off about $225. Am I right, Jerry?
You have to subtract the land value.
Right, that's right. So you get rid of the land value. So $1 million, 3.63 means that the buildings that you own have to be at about $28 million in value.
As a general rule, if it's commercial, might be different, but residential, if you go like 15% of the total value in the land, 10, 15%, something like that.
You're 40 million bucks. You're a $40 million portfolio to write off $1 million in income tax. Does that make sense?
It's got to be easier ways.
There's got to be easier ways to depreciate,
to not pay taxes,
to pay less in taxes.
So what's the number, Brent?
40 million.
40 million to write off 1 million.
Yeah.
Now,
40 million in real estate owned. You subtract the land, yep, and then that's just right now. Depreciation. Right?
What about with accelerated with bonus depreciation? Why did you let's say that we don't do that. We don't play that game. We don't do the whole we use the bonus depreciation. Then what is it?
Well, it just depends. I mean, you got to own you got to own those properties for 20 years or you're going to pay it back. So, I mean, you can write off, you could probably reduce that by half, maybe 15 to 20 million if you're going to do, accelerated depreciation. But I would highly suggest, I would never do that. I would never do bonus depreciation. I've talked to 3 different really good CPAs. And they're like, yeah, if you really want to get jammed up, just do bonus depreciation. Right? Because your income's going to change.
Well, for one, you have to do cost segregation. And cost segregation isn't really designed for single family residential. It's designed for multifamily.
Yep.
So there's one, you sort of have a little bit of an issue when you do it with single family.
Yeah, and then it's even longer for commercial properties. It's what, 39 and a half years?
Yeah, or 39, I think. You're right. 39 years for depreciation.
But I just think about that, right, Jamil? Because you're like, okay, how much real estate in my portfolio do I have to earn to be able to write off $1 million worth of income? Well, yeah, and listen, income is taxed at different levels, depends on if it's a bonus. Mm-hmm. If you own a business and you W-2, I W-2'd myself the last couple of years. And so when I take like an owner draw, it's like a bonus and that gets taxed way higher than if I just take a salary every single month. and because they think that, you know, they want to overshoot how much your bonus is going to be, and so you're paying a bunch more there, and it just turns into you just, the fact is you pay a ton in taxes, right? Unless you have items that the government will allow you to depreciate. And I think it's an interesting conversation to have, because it was like a mystery to me. I don't understand what is land, what is this cost segregation? What is this depreciation? What can you actually write off on your taxes? You know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's one of the things that we've been, I mean, I've been doing, even though it's single family, I do get cost segregation done on my single families, and you know, I have no intention of selling those properties. They cash flow incredibly well, and so the goal for me is to keep them. But okay, let's take single family off the table, right? How long do you got to keep a vehicle if you do bonus depreciation or on your Cybertruck, for instance, Brent? What's the depreciation schedule on that?
I have no idea.
Are you going to
I'm just looking at assets. What assets can I own that's going to pay me in my income statement that I can also get depreciation from?
Which you could absolutely get on vehicles if you I mean, my Cybertruck right now brings in after I make the payment an additional like $3,400 to $3,800 a month,
right,
in income, you know, and so it cash flows heavy, right? But and so if I do bonus depreciation on that based off the purchase price of the vehicle, I probably write off $40,000 off my taxes.
Yep.
And then I've got, you know, $3,500, let's just say on average, of monthly income. That to me is a pretty good play. But then again, how long do I got to keep that vehicle before I got to recapture if I sell it?
Right.
That's a piece that I still am getting clarity on from my tax strategist. So
I sort of have a unique perspective on paying taxes. I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Live in Puerto Rico.
Well, that too. Yeah, that too.
I mean, I don't know if there's at right now with what we're talking about, Jerry. Puerto Rico sounds really good.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, if you follow all the rules, it's called Act 60, but my income tax is at 4% and capital gains 0. But you got to live in Puerto Rico and follow a bunch of rules. But no, it wasn't. So prior to that, in 2020, what spurred me moving to Puerto Rico was in 2020, I paid $1.4 million to federal on my taxes, just federal. And that was after aggressively writing off whatever I can, right? So, but I was okay with it. And here's why. For years, I paid a lot of taxes, and I did it for 2 reasons. One is I wanted to be bankable. And what I mean by that is one of the problems with writing off everything and showing no income is it's very hard to then get financing.
Yep.
And I wanted commercial financing because I was building luxury homes, and it worked. So I was able to go in and show the banker this fat tax return and this really high income. And they were able to then give me loans on construction that was at 4%. So I got out of hard money, got into cheap money. So I kind of like took one up front, I guess, to then be able to qualify for that really good financing. That was one reason. And the other reason why is, in my mind, and people disagree with this, it's a very controversial thing I'm about to say here, but in my mind, holding assets and managing assets is a totally separate skill set from transacting.
Yep.
Which would be wholesaling and flipping. It's a completely different business model, different type of management, different type of operations, just a different thing altogether. And for me, I didn't want to be distracted with managing assets. I just wanted to hyper focus on making the active income.
Yep.
And so for years and years, I just let it pile up, and I just paid the tax, and it was okay. I was okay with it because I knew there was a trade-off. I knew the trade-off was going to be, if I start to divert some of my energy away from flipping and more to holding, that's probably going to cost me in ways that I'm not willing to sacrifice right now. Now, that's not a very long-term strategy because you can't stay just making active income and paying high taxes. That's not a good long-term plan. But I think for most people, they need to stop worrying about their future tax liability and just go freaking make a lot of money, pay some taxes for a little bit, get it really figured out, and maybe then start to figure out ways to offset that. But I mean, tell me what you guys think. Is that the wrong mindset? That's just how I looked at it.
One of the things that I've also been doing is, of course, I have a heavy active income liability. Of course, I got a team which helps me, with some write-offs there because I've got payroll and all of that. But Pace was talking about in the last episode of Wholesale Hotline, when you invest in like a fund, right? Like a hard money fund that's paying you 10% interest, your tax liability on that type of income is significantly lower than active income.
Interest
right?
income.
Yeah, interest income is significantly lower than active income. And so if you have the ability to take the cash that you make from your wholesale business and put it in an investment strategy like a hard money fund and just start collecting interest income, now you're at 20%. And you can start writing off of that. And so now you can get your tax liability way down because of how you're earning money.
Well, think about it, Jamil. If you're making, I think the highest level is like 437. Now that's taxable income. So it'd be after your write-offs. You're showing the IRS 400 and whatever it is, 17,000. You're in the highest tax bracket, which is 37%. Now, depending on who comes in the office soon, that could go all the way up to 48%. She's talking about, right? For the high tax income, for the high income earners. So right now it's 37%.
Wait, you didn't hear about the Rumpelstiltskin bill that she's putting in?
No.
You haven't heard about it?
No. Well, maybe I have. What's that?
Oh, every American's firstborn.
Is what?
Tax.
You get taxed?
You just give them to the state. You just give them to the federal government. Yeah. They turn them into fossil fuel and away we go.
Can you retro? Like, can I give away my kid's already born? Or is it?
Yeah.
You got to pick though. Which one?
I can pick. Most parents lie about having a favorite, but I don't. I tell my kids all the time who's the favorite.
That's great. Oh man,
I shouldn't do that. That's probably bad parenting.
No, but I agree with you, Jerry.
But think about this, Brent. 37, that's federal, and then most states are between 6 to 9.
Yeah,
6 to 9 in the state, and some states like California are 15, and Hawaii's whatever 14, 15. So you add that on top of the 37, you're almost at 50% in tax. You're working for the government until July. If you're a high income.
Listen, January through October. That's the average American works for to pay taxes and to pay interest on what they owe or rent. That is what it is, right? I mean, it's
so when Jamil says
car loans, student loans, credit cards, rent. That's not even food. That's not even entertainment. That's not even travel. January through October. If you don't understand, if you are financially illiterate, you are stuck in that race forever. You're going to be stuck on that treadmill forever. That's the whole point of these shows. That's the whole point of like getting and being around people that are doing amazing things and building businesses is one, you get to see that it's possible, but two, you get to like really get the step-by-step on how to not live that life. That's the average life, January through October. For Uncle Sam and for the banks, essentially.
When I first got started in real estate, I had no idea how much of my effort would go into tax strategy as it does today. Like it is such a big part of your income because if you get your head around it, then you're saving a lot. If you don't get your head around it, you're paying a lot. So it's something to figure out, and
we all have to figure out how to handle Uncle Scam. For sure.
And you know what? My personal belief is you have a moral obligation to keep as much of that money as you earn in your family and in the economy, right? Because let's face it, if you're keeping that money, what are you guys doing? All business owners are reinvesting back into the business, which means more jobs, more opportunity, more services, more products, better for everyone if you can keep more of that money.
Yep.
Love it. What's working for you, Jamil?
The same old. Getting on the phone, talking to people, Jerry and I actually, oddly enough, just had a day where we spent a couple of hours on the phone, and I was working a lead that Jerry and I called. And you remember Smelly Shelly?
Smelly Shelly, what happened?
Well, we got it under contract at 130.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
No.
Dude, we have to do a follow-up on that.
We do got to do a follow-up.
You said 130. You said,
I said
here's what I'm going to
130.
do. I'm going to get it at 130.
Yep.
So
we got it. We did get it under contract at 130. So Brent, Jerry and I are going to put the first video out here very soon so that you guys can see. But this was a listing at $2.25. $225,000 property. Fire damage in Phoenix. The real estate agent, we named him Smelly Shelly because he was a total knob on the phone, like just really, really not a friendly guy.
Yeah.
But while we were talking, I got him to negotiate himself down to 180 because when he was talking to me, he was saying, because we're talking about the fire burn property, and I started laughing when I said, how much do you think this house is going to cost to renovate? He said $70,000. I just burst out in laughter. I'm like, I said, where do you go shopping? 1980? Like,
you know what though, Jamil, you handled it really well because you say that now, but you weren't rude to him. You did it in a way. Yeah, you did it in a really good way. You said to him, you said 70,000. Man, I would hire you to renovate.
Yes.
How can I hire you? You said, I don't think I could touch that for under 110, which is just awesome response because what you're doing is you're helping him reset his mindset around like what the real numbers are.
Yep.
Which you did a great job doing. I can't wait to air that video. It's going to be great.
This was a listed property?
Yeah, listed property.
Listed property, and Jamil and I were just like we were just scrolling through and picking stuff listed and calling on it.
Yeah, guy, this is the best part about it, right? Is like, okay, so let's take away some of these these ideas that you need all of this stuff, right? Jerry says, hey, forget privy, forget even prop wire. That's his service. He's like, we're gonna go bare bones, just started. We're gonna go Redfin. So we go Redfin, we use the Redfin free tool, and we go and we create a list for ourselves of fixer-uppers in Phoenix. We walk through the whole process of how to do that. We figure out which properties are there, and then him and I take turns making phone calls.
It was literally like, oh, that one looks pretty ugly. Let's call that one.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, guys.
Not rocket science at all. And to think about that, you could do that. Now, guys, here's the reality of that, right? That 130, I can move that at 150K, right? I can move it at 150K, and I have no problems being able to do that. So now I have options, and that's the thing. And you can get a deal in a matter of an afternoon if you just do the thing. If you learn how to have these conversations, right? I mean, Jerry is one of the greatest of all time at agent conversations. I do a pretty good job myself. Brent, you're a real estate agent yourself, so you know the mind, and you know exactly how to do it. Pace is the seller, the direct to seller whisperer. He can disarm I was with him at Penn State over the weekend, and he had this incredible call with a seller. So like, again, at the end of the day, all you got to do is listen to people who have done the things, right? You spend enough time with a guy like Jerry, a guy like me, a guy like Brent, a guy like Pace, and really listen to how we do it and really pay attention to those things. You guys can get a deal in a day. Like, let's stop this whole nonsense of this is going to take you forever. You guys can get a deal. You guys can sit your butts down and understand what the numbers need to be, get on the phone, and you can get a deal done today. You can get a deal done today.
Part of the problem, Jamil, is like people see that at 229, they run some formula and they go, man, I got to be at 130, waste of time. And they don't do the call. They don't pick up the call. They don't.
Yeah.
And most of the time it is a waste of time, but it's not a waste of time because Jamil, even if you didn't get that at 130, you would have made a great connection. You'd have had another agent in your follow-up sequence. You'd have been in time. He'd have been calling you about a deal. So it's not a waste of time.
Of course. And that's just it, right? What's working, Brent, is what's always worked. To answer your question, because that was the roundabout way of going to it. What worked is what always worked. Getting on the phone, having the conversations, and running into traffic. Because you're going to get hit. That's how we play. We play in traffic so we can get hit.
What was it listed for?
$2.25.
And you got him down on the phone to how much?
I didn't get him down on the phone. I got him down. He got himself down on the phone to 180.
Okay. And then
So
you're
Brent,
going to get it at 130.
So here's what happened,
And so-
Brent. It fell in and out of contract by wholesalers. So he was anti-wholesaler. He said, I don't want wholesalers. They lock it up and then backed out. You have to come see the property. And Jamil handled it beautifully. He said, no problem. We'll for sure come look at the property. Not a problem. Yeah. Now let's talk about the numbers. And so you still got to that conversation. And also I'll tell agents the same thing and say, hey, no problem. Of course, we're going to come look at the property. It might not make sense right this minute to come look at it, but yes, of course, we'll come look at it.
Yeah.
And really what they're looking for is certainty, because he's had a lot of uncertainty with wholesalers backing out of it. And so Jamil, so when you went and Jamil said, you hung up the phone after that and you said, Jerry, here's my strategy. We're going to go meet him at the property. We're going to get him invested in us because now he's spending time with us. This is a guy doing a freebie for a friend. So Jamil's like, the more time he spends with me, the more motivated he's going to be to get a deal done. And here it is, like playing out exactly how you predicted it. Then I'm guessing, Jamil, you guys spent time, walked the property with him. And then how'd that conversation go to 130?
So we get there and lo and behold, who shows up at the house? Seller. While we're there. And the agent is there too. The agent's doing a freebie on this one, right? And so we get to talking and I'm just like, look, this house is a mess. It's not going to be anywhere near what you think it's going to be in remodel costs. And the likelihood is what you're going to want me to get into the contract at a number here. I'm not giving you 180, but let's just say you said 150. I'm coming back after this inspection period because I know my costs are going to go way higher than what you guys think it's going to be. So here's how it's going to play out. You want this thing to get sold? Okay. This is how it's going to happen. I am going to give you 130 and I'm going to waive inspection. And that's it.
Why would you say waive inspection?
Because I don't need a contingency period on that. I know my numbers.
He wants certainty.
What
kind of over price?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a $5,000. It's a $5,000 EMD, so that's fine.
Yeah.
You know.
See, the mistake people make is they think that a seller, a motivated seller. Now, this doesn't account to retail sellers, but a motivated seller, they're more interested in certainty than they are price. This guy has fallen in and out of contract a bunch of times. He's done with this property. He wants it gone. So when Jamil comes in and he waives inspection, puts $5,000 non-refundable, that guy's all over it because Jamil gave him that certainty, which is what he ultimately wants.
Yeah, and we got a good plan for it, right? Because this is one that we can rebuild and it's in a really interesting area with all kinds of industry around it. And so for us, it's a perfect co-living, keep. So I'll, try to wholesale it. If it doesn't work, then it'll be one that we add to the co-living portfolio and it'll cash flow well. And, that'll be what it is. But that's what being a real estate investor allows you to do is when you understand your numbers, when you can be capitalized, when you have the ability to close, when you can do these things and have these conversations. Well, you have a guy like Jerry, Brent, Pace, Jamil, whoever backing you up on your numbers in a way like, hey, tell me if you have to be in a conversation with an agent and the agent's like, you got to come see the property. Okay, cool. You get to the property and they're like, okay, this is what it needs to be. If you have to give somebody a strong offer, right? Why wouldn't you want to get on the phone with Jerry or Brent and say, what's your non-refundable EMD price on this deal?
Can I break down a few points here that I think are real important?
Sure.
Because you talked about a few things, but I think it's important when you guys are using a purchase agreement and please, Jerry and Jamil, give me some more if I'm missing some, but you've got price, obviously. You've got contingencies, aka the inspection or any other contingencies, whether the two big ones at the top of the mountain are going to be inspection and appraisal contingencies. Those are two of the ones that agents are looking for. You've got closing date and you've got earnest money. Those are the little tools in our toolbox, the little knobs that we can turn that helps us negotiate. Maybe it's not necessarily the price, but it's some of these other things. Is there anything else besides contingencies, earnest money, and a closing date that you guys can think of that you guys use to really sweeten the deal or to, make it a win-win with negotiations?
Those are your negotiating terms that you have to play with. Close date, earnest money, inspection period, and cash. I mean, that's sort of an obvious one for all of us, but cash versus financing.
Yeah.
Those are things. And so a lot of people mess this up where they think that price is their only negotiating tool, when it's those other three for the right seller or certain situations like Jamil's, where that plays way more. So think about it this way. If at the same time Jamil made that offer, another offer came in that was 150, but it was a 45-day close, it was a $500 earnest money, and it was a 10-day inspection.
Yeah.
Guess which one that seller would take? They would take the 130 with no inspection with
Certainty.
$5,000 earnest money.
Yep.
They would sell it to Jamil for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 less. Why? Because his terms give a lot of certainty, and the seller wants certainty.
In that instance, correct. Now there's other pieces, and that's why really actively listening to the conversation the agent's having with you, actively listening to any motivation points that you're getting. The reality is that there could be so many different things that you can use as a negotiation tool, right? I've used post-possession agreements as a negotiation tool. I've used leaving items in the house, and I'll handle the disposal of items as a negotiation tool. I've used evicting tenants and getting rid of squatters as a negotiation tool. You know, taking away the things that your average human that is not really a real estate investor, who's not equipped to do evictions, who's not equipped to handle a clean out, who's not equipped to do these specific things. When you can bring to the table the convenience of those pieces, post-possessions, cleanups, evictions, and you can make it really simple for a seller. I mean, that's where a wholesaler's value can really become, unsurmountable. That's where a real estate agent and a wholesaler, we beat the agent, time in and time again. That's if you're going direct to seller. And if you're going direct to agent, we become the agent's best friend, because they get to go to that seller and say, look, have I done my homework? I found somebody for you today that is not only going to come in with a cash offer, he's going to come in and he's going to give you a post-possession to give you time to leave. He's also going to let you leave whatever you want behind in the house, and you don't have to worry about, trashing or 1-800 got junking anything in here. He's going to handle that. He's also, how you got that person living in your guest house right now that smokes crack all night and doesn't want to leave? He's going to handle him too. So I mean, imagine that, right? You've got, and of course that was an interesting analogy I just gave, but still, these things happen, especially in distressed situations and distressed real estate. And so we do our job.
Yeah. And I think it's real important to just clarify here, guys. This is for properties that need significant investment. They're either original condition or they're totally abused, right? They're totally beat up, and they're looking for these cash as is. We're not talking about, beautiful houses that we could do something creative with. We're talking about straight up, the typical assignment fee type of transactions. And with that, two more that I will mention. I love that you mentioned that, Jamil. That is huge. We use post-possession almost every time now in this market. We use leave the items in the house all the time, evictions. The other one, there's three more that we've dealt with in the last, maybe quarter. Moving trucks. They need us to hire moving trucks. They don't have any cash up front to be able to do that. Cash up front to be able to pay some electric bills or to get their car out of repo or whatever else. And then animal placement has been one that's come up a few times this year, where they've got a bunch of animals. They're like, I'm going to just leave them. And we're like, okay.
It was interesting that you say
and
that,
you get
because
them adopted. Yeah.
I just closed on a house in Maryville. And, we said, leave all the items that you need to leave behind. There was a 45-day post-possession, and they left 5 dogs. Yeah. They just got up and left.
Yeah.
I had a puppy pass away 2 days ago. Rest in peace, Venice. Shout out. I love you. I love you, old girl. But I can't imagine leaving my dog behind somewhere, let alone 5 of them.
No chance.
Right? Like but then again, we're talking about people who have just, they're at their wits' end on how they're going to handle things. And so that's a really good thing, Brent, because if I had known that they were going to leave the 5 dogs behind, I would have had all month to help place those dogs.
Yeah.
And so now they're in foster. Thank goodness for Hayel. That's Cody Barton's girl. she came out of, God knows where she came out of as an angel, and just figured out how to foster all 5 of those dogs. And she's been having them placed day after day. She really just stepped up and got some. She did incredible things. I mean, a tremendous amount of love and respect to her. I might even end up adopting one of those, because my Henry needs a new friend now. So I'm going to reach out to her when I get home and say, let me take a look. Let me come and see the remaining 2 dogs you got, and see if one of them could be placed in my house. But if I had known ahead of time, sorry to go off on a tangent. If I had known ahead of time, I would have started with the placements earlier. I would have been handling that earlier. And it's a really good thing to offer people, Brent. I think that's awesome.
Yep. So guys, there's a whole list there. Yes, it comes down to the price when you're negotiating, but I'll tell you that the other thing, real quick, now that I'm just pulling another thread, we out rapport people for deals every month. We out relationship them. I can't tell you how many people were like, I like their offer, but we like you better. They just gave me a weird feeling when they came over, right? And so the way that you dress, the way that you present yourself, the way that you show up early, the way that you go there and you sit down with them and really understand what is your goal with this property, instead of just going through the house and totally beating them up on everything that's wrong with their house and getting out of rapport with them and all those things. We get deal after deal after deal just because they like us better. So, I mean, that really matters as well.
Brent,
building that relationship really matters.
Can you give us some examples of ways that you do that? Because, it's one thing I know you well. You're a very likable guy, but it's not you on the phone, right? Yep. It's your team on the phone. And so I'm sure you've got some, maybe some standard ways that you guys can disarm, create some connection. What are some of the things that you do and your team does to build that rapport?
Well, first of all, I mean, we're showing up, which means we're there 100%. No. Wait, you could show up and not be there. You know what I'm saying? You can show up and be thinking about a billion other things going on, but we show up. We're not taking calls while we're on the appointments. We're totally focused on this person. We're nodding our head. We're listening to them. We're giving them signals that the things that they're saying, the things coming out of their mouth, are important to us. Right. And the discovery is huge. 80% of the conversation is them telling us how we can help solve their problem. The other thing is, if you want to instantly get out of rapport with somebody, tell them they're wrong. Right. Tell them that they're absolutely wrong about anything that's going on. Right. So we always focus on confirming and approving everything.
What if you go to the house, Brent, and there's the opposing party to your political stance sign in the and that person just comes out and they're like, I'm not selling you the house unless you're voting for so and so.
We love that person. Awesome. Yep.
What do you do then?
They're fantastic. Let's go over here. No, very rarely does that happen. But obviously people have their opinions and you just hear them out and you don't add to it. Right. Yeah. And if they want to pull you down some rabbit hole of you have to agree with me or I'm not selling you my house. I don't know if we've ever experienced that before, to be honest. So, I mean, if they did, I would probably play it off or just, respectfully, I'd have to think about that more before I could give you an answer on that.
I'd have fun with it. I'd pull up, I pull up memes from one side and I'd have memes for the other side. I have both right now. Yeah. Right? Like there's funny things about both.
Yeah, they're all robots anyway, right? Or what, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. Just have fun with it. You can, the thing is when you're an adult, somebody else's opposing views aren't offensive to you. That's a childish thing to be like,
absolutely.
I'm going to unfollow you because you don't agree with my political view. What are we?
Right.
That's what a middle schooler does.
Right.
People love echo chambers.
An adult can be in relation to somebody else that has different views and still be in relation with you, right? Like that's
absolutely. We should all be unburdened by what had been.
That's right.
I was waiting for that one.
So I think you use your tone of voice. You show up. You're there to actually help them out and don't smell like commission breath or assignment fee breath. You show up early and you do your best to communicate how we can help them out. And if we're the best option for them, great. If not, we'll suggest another option for them. And I think people understand that we're there just to give them the best path. If it's a cash as is offer, we think we're going to do the best job for them.
Brent, how much does going on appointment versus closing on the phone play a factor in your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's really we do a good job of building as much of a relationship on the phone as possible through active listening and asking really good questions, but nothing beats face-to-face. Nothing beats using every part of your human communication skills, right? And that's going to be body language. That's going to be your tone of voice. That's going to be looking them in the eye. That's going to be, really showing that you're listening to their, and they have horrible stories. Some of them, it's like the craziest things you've ever heard. Some are really sad. And so just being a real human, having empathy there and connecting with them, and we get deals that way for sure.
I'm all for virtual wholesaling because it provides such an amazing lifestyle to be able to do this on the phone from anywhere. I've done that for years and years and years, but I'll tell you what, guys, if you're on the phone with a seller and Brent goes on appointment with that same seller, Brent's walking out of there with a contract. Yeah. Because there's something more special that happens face-to-face, belly-to-belly. You can create a connection that you just can't quite do the same on the phone.
It's also harder to say no. It's harder to be oppositional. Listen, right? Look, why are people so brave on the internet? Why can somebody say the most vile things from their phone, right? But if you see that same person face to face, they're quieter than a church mouse.
Yeah, they would never say that.
They would never say. Why? Because when you're face to face with somebody, you're in their energy and they're in yours. And now you can actually affect them. And I'm not saying it in an intimidating way. I'm saying it in a way that makes it like, hey, I'm here. We're here. We're present with each other. Let's have a conversation and let me see how I can absolutely help you. And that person makes it so much more difficult to say no to because they're there. They're peeping you right in your polls. And they're saying, I'm the guy that's going to be able to make this work for you. Let's get this deal done. Here's the contract. Right. Yep. It's way, way, way harder to say, no, I need to talk to my husband, or no, I got to talk to my wife, or no, I need to consult with my attorney. Or it's just way more difficult to kick the can down the road than it is on a text message. How many times have you guys typed a text message out, stopped, and then deleted, and then went the complete opposite direction in what you were writing?
Yeah.
How many times have you done that, Jerry?
All the time.
How many times have you done that, Brent?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when we know that that's how we are as human beings, that we can go one way, and then in the matter of a moment, we can make a split decision and go the opposite direction, delete everything that we were, backspace it all, and then retort with something completely different, the other direction. That tells you that doesn't happen in real life. That doesn't happen belly to belly. That only happens when you give people the leeway of writing a message to you.
How does that work with buyers, you think, Jamil?
Well, we're dealing with a different demographic and different type of mentality in the buyer pool, right? Because now we're talking about people who are usually very time sensitive. They've got very, very compressed schedules. They've got family obligations. They've got things they need to accomplish. And they're not really interested in wanting to get super into the weeds with you in a conversation. A buyer who's buying a property from you, they want to know a couple of things. Can I trust this person? Can I trust that this person is giving me the best price that I can get? Can I trust that this deal is actually available? Can I trust that there's not going to be any shenanigans in this deal and I'm not going to end up, I remember I did a deal with I'm going to only say his first name and I'll give you his last initial, Josh G in Phoenix. You probably are aware who he is. Yep. And I bought a property from him, and I only say the name so that if he's watching this right now, he can know what kind of a D-bag he is. But this guy sold me a house.
Is he still doing it?
I have no idea. This guy,
I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah. This guy sells me a house on Utopia. Right. And I say to myself, I trust him. I believe him. he says to me that it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,700 square foot house. You know, he makes all these representations. The tax record was actually incorrect. He had visited the property and he knew that it was a 2-bed, 1-bath. And he sold it to me as a 3-bed, 2-bath because of incorrect information on the tax record. And he said to me, hey, you are unable to visit this property until after close of escrow. $70,000 assignment fee, Brent. He ripped a $70,000 fee off of me. And you know, again, it was the trust thing, right? Like so the buyers get ripped off. Buyers do get ripped off. And so buyers need to know they can trust you. Buyers need to know that what you say to them is real. And buyers need to know that you actually care about their business and you're giving them the right numbers. Because if I'm a buyer and you say to me, the ARV on this property is 500 and I go look and the ARV is 425, you've lost all credibility with me. But if you say to me that the ARV is 500 and I go look and I find a comp for 5.25, I'm paying attention to this guy. I'm paying attention to what this guy sends me because I like how he moves or she moves. You know, that's just my thoughts.
And vice versa. If they fudge the numbers, you stop opening their texts, you stop opening their emails. You can't trust their numbers, so you're not going to waste your time because they're not being trustworthy with you.
Yep.
Well, that's why
you get blackballed. I have wholesalers that I blackball. I'm like, I'm not even going to look at your junk because I know you're fudging all the numbers.
Yep.
That's why Spencer Caldwell is in business, is because people are just looking at his list. They make a determination as to whether or not it's a deal or not a deal. And he's not giving them any insight. He's just like, here's a property and an address. I mean, here's an address and a price.
He also has a very interesting model because Spencer only charges $1,500 flat fee on all of his deals. You already always know, and everybody knows when they buy a deal from Spencer, it's not his deal. They know that Spencer is the curator and the amalgamator of all the wholesale deals in the entire state, and he puts them all together for buyers to really understand where, like, he gets everything and he puts them all on one Excel spreadsheet. And because the buyers know that they're only paying an additional $1,500 to Spencer for the work that he's doing in compiling all those deals together, they're willing to pay Spence his $1,500 because they're like, this guy did work for me that I don't need to do. And he goes direct to the source. So Spencer's not going to put a property that might be getting daisy chained on his list and then add $1,500. No, Spencer does the work to go make sure he's got direct on all of the deals. Yep. And then he charges a $1,500 buyer premium for the buyer to know that he just did all this work. And so to me, I think what Spencer does is incredibly smart. I think what he does is very transparent, and we should all kind of take an example in the dispo world from people like Spencer, because he's got good attitude. He's a good guy. He's super transparent with what he's saying and what he's about. You don't get on the phone with Spencer and he doesn't act like a weirdo to you. He's the nicest person. What do you think of this, Jamil? Josh says, how do we deal with buyers that beat the hell out of us, that the deal is bad, then they take it down and resell it right where we said it would be? Seems one-sided. I think that's negotiations.
Yeah, guys, a cash buyer wants a deal. They're going to beat down your deal. I do the same thing. When I'm a cash buyer, I'm going to look at the deal. I'm going to find everything wrong with it. I'm going to try to get it for as low as I can. Why would I not? That's what you did to the seller. Why would the buyer not do that to you? What that means to me when I read that, Brent, is that you haven't talked to enough buyers, because if you sold it to that guy because he beat you down, then what you said to yourself was, well, he's the only player in town. I guess I'll sell it to him, rather than, and I call that being a cash buyer employee. Like, you're working for that guy. If you're bringing the deal to the same guy and he's beating you up, you need to talk to more buyers, because there's a buyer. As long as you have a deal, there's a buyer that will pay for that deal.
Correct.
Yeah, you need. Yeah, if there's multiple offers, then you're
surprised by that. That's normal. Like, that's what cash buyers do.
Yeah, that's why you have to have a nice, healthy tension. You have to have the deal out to more than one buyer, especially if they're going to beat you up. You know what I mean? Now, if it's a special situation where, this buyer does a really great job in an area, they're really easy to work with. They You can't get access to the property. It kind of just fits that one buyer's buy box. Then that's something different. But yeah, I mean, if they're beating you up too much, it's because one, maybe it's not, that great of deals that you're putting in front of them, but two, you're just not putting them in front of enough.
Or maybe they know that you are, you
You're
go
a
in for, well, not just that, but you might just be one of those guys that just comes in every time and has the $75,000 assignment fee on the deal. Maybe they've done business with you in the past and they're like, I bought 3 houses from this dude and he's made, 50, 60, 70K on me every single time. I'm going to try to negotiate this guy because his assignment fees are just high. And that's okay. Look, I'm not begrudging anybody's high assignment fees. Everybody should make money just like Brent Daniels does. They should all go for the gold because Brent makes a schwack on his deals, and that's great, right? But I also know that because Brent makes a schwack on his deals, if I'm a buyer and I want to negotiate with Brent and I see Brent sends out a deal and then he sends it out a second time, I'm gonna call Brent and I'm gonna say, hey, bro, here's where I am, and I'm gonna check to see where he is with his hand. Does Brent want to, does he want to do it or does he not want to do it? Is he ready to sell like that? Or so don't get offended by things like that. Don't feel bad about that. That's negotiation. This is business, right? Let the buyer do their thing.
You got to get the feedback, right? So like if 10 buyers are all telling you the same thing, you're on a busy road, I can't pay that much. Well, now you've got feedback, right? You've talked to enough people to get feedback. So that's how you know, right? If one person's beating you up or they're telling you I can't pay that because of this, this, and this, talk to enough people and you'll find out how legit those reasons are. And maybe they're right, maybe they're not.
Yeah. And again, never begrudging anybody's assignment fees. Look, if you have an opportunity to make a $70,000 spread on a deal, God bless you. Good job. You did a great thing. Keep it going and try again. I hope you hit a grand slam again. And we don't always get those. And so when you do get a big, healthy, chunky bite to take it, right? But when your buyer also gives you feedback or they play the game with you and they negotiate, be grateful that you're in the conversation. Be like, you're a real estate investor in a conversation. You're playing the game.
Yep.
Be happy that you get to play the game. And get on it and play the game back, right? Like Nathan Harris says in here, don't be a pocket watcher, but outside of being a pocket watcher, play the game, baby. Like, let's go. Let's see what we've got here.
Well, cash buyers know. I think you're right, Jamil. Cash buyers know. Wait a second. I made $40K on the deal that I bought from Jerry, but he made $40K also. I could have made, a little bit more. I want to make 50. I want to make 55 on these deals because, the market's a little bit tighter. I want to make sure that I hedge against any kind of risk. I'm going to assume that Jerry's got a big spread on this as well. Right.
Sure.
Well, you have to learn how to talk to cash buyers. It's a totally different skill set.
Totally different
conversation. Yeah. Like I'll challenge, know your stuff. If you know your numbers and you know your stuff, then I challenge cash buyers all the time. If you ever listen to my cash buyer calls, they'll try to beat me up on value. And I'll be like, well, wait a second, hold on. Why are you saying that? I'm looking at this comp. What comp are you looking at? And I'm in their face, just like they're in my face. And it's all great because we're just a bunch of dudes trying to make business, right? Yeah. So I'm not rolling over. At the same time, I'm open for feedback. Like, okay, well, show it to me. And if they show me good feedback, I'll be like, okay, that's a good point. Or why? What do you mean you don't like that comp? Why don't you like that comp? I think that's a good comp. And I'm listening to what they have to say.
Can you put Abdul's comment on the screen? Because I just want to address that, right? Abdul, I love you, bro. I don't know you, but when you say some buyers are just greedy, same with wholesalers. Let's not take somebody making a good fee or somebody negotiating and associate that with greed. That's not greed. We got to change that motto because that's not what this is about. It's not greed, brother. It's business, right? We're here to do business. And just because, look, for instance, okay, there was a wholesaler that I used to do business with back in the day, my early days of wholesaling in Phoenix. We all know him. Pace calls him Voldemort, right? And so Voldemort used to buy from me and used to be my dispo wholesaler, and he would never let me make more than $5,000 on a deal. And I would see the settlement statements, and he was making 60, 70, 90, and I'm like, oh, you know what I said to myself? Not F Voldemort. Voldemort's greedy. I said, I'm being lazy. I need to go out and find out who Voldemort is selling to, and I got to figure out how to do this better because he has something I don't have. He has access to the network I don't have. And so I'm so grateful for Voldemort making those assignment fees to push me into action. So Abdul, when you have that, don't let something give you a bad taste in your mouth, brother. A bad taste in your mouth is just something that you make a decision to say, I'm going to hold a grudge. I'm going to let this taste overwhelm my opinion about this person. No. Find out where you have a blind spot. Find out where you have work to do and go do better. Go do better. Don't let bad taste stop you from anything. Keep taking bites. But go do better.
Hey, Brent, I saw a comment here. I'm looking for it. It was asking about, do I get the money investor first or the deal first? Anybody see where that went? It was back.
Well, just go ahead and answer it.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find it.
I just wanted to make sure I got to the right person. But so here's my take on this, and there's no right or wrong answer. But I feel like when it comes to raising money for deals, if you're funding deals, and it's one thing to have like a high level conversation with, like, let's say a hard money lender or even a private money lender. But at the end of the day, if I call up a private money lender and I say, hey, if I get a good deal, will you fund it? And what are they going to say? They're going to say, well, yeah, call me when you get a deal. Right. So, and you don't have very much urgency when you're pre-calling for funding before you've actually got something that needs funding. I think a whole better use of time would be get that deal, give yourself a 30-day close. Now you've got some urgency. Now you're going to reach out to a lender and you're going to say, hey, I've got a deal. Here's the contract. Here's all my numbers. This is why it's a good deal. Can you fund this deal? And now you're having a high level conversation because you've actually got something to put in front of them.
Right.
When I see this question, because I get this question often, it's almost like you're saying, before I go make an offer to do a flip or whatever, I need to have the money first. And all you're doing is lying to yourself to not go do the work to get a deal, because you're letting something that you need after you get a deal stop you from getting the deal in the first place. Don't worry about that. I've never not found a buyer or not got the money for a good deal. The money chases the deals. If you go get a good deal, you'll find a buyer or you'll find the money for it if it's a good deal. So I would say, get that good deal, and then you'll have no problem finding the money for it.
True story. Let's we've had Juliana in the comments here ask multiple times about the flooding. I would love to get your guys' opinion on, natural disasters and what happens in these kinds of situations and how do we deal with them, and what's the appropriate way to deal with that, and how do you go about getting a discount on a situation like that?
On like a flood or a hurricane?
Well,
or something?
Juliana Dumas, she says, what happens to houses in Florida that are flooded? Is it going to be harder to buy those houses for investors? So what are your guys' thoughts on the, Hurricane Helene? Yeah. Obviously, a tremendous amount of love and compassion to the people who are being affected by it. 120 people so far have passed away. It's not a joking matter by any means. But how do we handle these types of natural disasters? Where do we run into these types of deals? How do you handle the insurance? When's the appropriate time to actually reach out? What would you guys say is a good strategy?
Well, you're going to have people that didn't have proper insurance that are not going to have money to fix these houses up. You're going to have people that take an insurance claim and then,
especially in Florida, by the way.
And you're going to have people that just take the check and then don't want to fix up the house. So then they're double dipping, right? Because they're going to take the money and then they're going to want to sell that house. So, guys, at the end of the day, our job is to solve problems on distressed real estate. If there's something that happens that creates distressed real estate, there's going to be an opportunity there. Now you got to be, like Jamil's saying, you got to be sensitive to what's happened because people have lost their homes, people have lost their lives. But there's gonna be a need for wholesalers in that market to come solve problems. So if you're in that market, I think it's an opportunity to go solve problems for people.
Yeah, the pacing item really is whether or not they had homeowners insurance and if they're making claims, right? So while they're going through that process, in my experience, they're not going to sell the property while they're going through that process. They're going to sell it after they get their insurance check. And insurance rates in those areas go up dramatically after events like this. So what happens is buyers in that area buy way lower. Once the property's in good shape and it's looking great again and it's livable again, it still usually takes a hit because there is the fear that every few years, might be every 10 years, whatever, your house
feels like every freaking year it seems like something's going on. And
Well,
I mean, you know, let's look at this too, right? Florida has some challenges because they've been dealing with insurance companies running for the hills in that market. And many people have been self-insuring, meaning they're not buying insurance. They're saying, I'm going to just raw dog it. I'm going to buy the house and I'm going to raw dog the situation and I'm just going to hope for the best. And then we've got Hurricane Helene coming through. And how many of those properties were uninsured? There's probably a pretty good number of them, you know, especially if that were investor owned, right? So now how do you deal with that, right? How do you, and you know, for me, if I'm dealing with an investor owned property and they were raw dogging it without insurance, I mean, that's an opportunity for a negotiation. You got to do, and if somebody's wondering what that means, it means without protection. Sorry. So if you're doing that, Jerry never knows what I'm talking about. All my analogies go way over Jerry's head with that, or I wouldn't say over his head. Maybe it's under his feet because they're not highbrow. They're beneath him. They're beneath him. So they go under his butt. So that went right under his butt. Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be some things to deal with in Florida. I think there's going to be opportunities, but guys, use your heart.
I don't know if you guys remember Hurricane Harvey in Texas. When was that?
Yeah,
2017, I think.
Yeah.
I bought a bunch of houses there that I flipped, and what they did there was really smart. They went in and they cut the drywall out 4 feet up through the whole house on every house that got flooded. Because a sheet of drywall is 4 feet, right? And so then it aired it out and they took the floors out. So they took the flooring out and they cut the drywall out and you'd buy them that way. And these were houses that would then, after that happened, they were up for sale. And it was the smartest thing because they prevented the houses from just molding right out in that humidity. Yep. And I imagine that's what we'll see there too. You'll see opportunities come available where if they were smart, they got in there right away before the humidity and the mold set in and they basically did a preliminary gut to then resell that property.
Yeah, I mean,
Jerry,
listen.
Somebody said, of course, Jerry doesn't know what protection is. He has 10 kids. I'm sorry.
Jamil, they have this chain, like they have this store in Puerto Rico. It's called Condom World.
You've never stepped inside.
Every time I drive by, I'm like, where were you my whole life?
It's awesome.
I'm sorry.
That's great.
Hey,
working for you, Jerry.
By Nick Farah. Jerry, how do I get past not telling someone I'm a wholesaler because of its reputation nowadays? Interesting.
I can show them if you ask again from your iPhone.
Siri has an opinion about it.
Yeah, this is.
Oh my God!
You're.
Did you? Oh my God! Whose contact info are you looking for?
You just activated mine.
How?
Okay.
What is happening here?
Yeah, Google's listening. That's for sure.
Oh my goodness!
This is a great question because there is there outside of our world, outside of our industry, there's a lot of negative perception around wholesaling. You know, we're talked about really poorly. We're looked at as predatory and ripping off old ladies. And I mean, I talk about this a lot on my YouTube channel, and this is a real concern for me, and it should be a concern for all of us, because we have to be the example in the light on the hill, right? That is showing the world that we don't take advantage of people. We're actually solving problems and doing good to the world. We're doing good to sellers. We're doing good to bring this inventory to market so it can get fixed up. Like, we do a lot. The entire real estate cog would not exist without the wholesaler. Like, we're the foundation of it all. And so we know that, but how do we portray that to the world? And so I think you don't shy away from it. I don't think you'd be ashamed of it. If you're embarrassed about being a wholesaler, you're never going to be good at this. You got to hold your head high and know that you're doing the right thing in the way that you transact and interact with people. And as long as you have high integrity and you are doing that, and you're doing what you say you're going to do, and you're helping people first and foremost, then there's nothing you should be afraid of or worried about. Now, and having said that, I will avoid an objection that's unnecessary. So in other words, like with agents, I never say to an agent, yeah, I'm a wholesaler. I'll say, yeah, do I sometimes assign my contract? Yeah, we do that all the time. Or I'll say, hey, I'm not sure what entity we're going to buy this property in, because I have multiple entities and my partners and investors have different entities. I need the ability to assign the contract so that we have the option to change the buyer of contract by closing. Now, what did I just say? I'm going to wholesale the deal without saying I'm going to wholesale the deal. Not because I'm ashamed of wholesaling and I'm trying to hide something. I'm only saying that because in their mind, they might have a negative idea around what a wholesaler is. So I'm trying to explain it to them in a way that they can understand without them completely shutting off and not wanting to interact with me.
Sometimes word salad will actually like save the day, right? I mean, for instance, exactly, like, I don't know what entity I'm going to close in right now. So it's word salad, right? Yeah. It is. My funding partner might come to the table and help us, close the deal. Word salad. At the end of the day, it's the way you present yourself. Be professional. Present it in a way that makes people not feel like you're just some street dude who came in off, YouTube and doesn't know what the heck he's doing. Like, speak in a way that people can understand, and they will absolutely respect you for what you're saying. When Jerry and I were on the call with Smelly Shelley the other day, he said, if you're a wholesaler, you can hang up. I wanted to say, I'm the best wholesaler on the planet.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, sorry, dude, you had a bad experience with some crappy wholesalers. Yeah. That's not me.
Yeah. Right. But what did I say? Have I wholesaled? Yes. But that's not why I'm calling you. I'm an investor and I want to understand more about the property. Yeah. Done. Yeah, we didn't even have another conversation about wholesaling after that.
He never brought it up again.
Never brought it up again.
Assigning a deal is an exit strategy.
That's it.
You know what I mean? I think the important thing here for everybody to understand is have the ability to close these deals. You need to have the ability to close those deals, or you are committing fraud when you're making offers that you are a buyer, a cash buyer, to a seller. And I think that's really the issue that most people have, is they don't understand what transactional funding is. They haven't had that conversation. They haven't connected and squatted up with other people that could close those deals. Have a conversation with your cash buyer and say, hey, listen, I'll give you this deal for free. Just cut me into the deal. Let me be part of this, or whatever it is, to have the confidence to go and put an offer, cash as is offer, on a property.
The other way you can do that, Brent, is like, so let's say you're not Brent, Jerry, or Jamil, where you do takedown deals and you do multiple strategies. Let's say you're working on your first deal, and let's say your entire intent is to wholesale the deal, right?
Yep.
So the way that you would say that would be, I work with a group of investors and they pay all cash, and I'm working directly with them. And the way this typically works is I help them find the deals. They step in and close on them. I get paid out up front, but they're my partner in the transaction. And that's essentially what you're doing as a wholesaler, is you're partnering with the cash buyer, and you're the acquisitions department outsourced, really. I mean, that's one way of looking at it.
So another way is
with integrity.
Yeah. Or hey, Brent, every once in a while, I have a funding partner that comes in and helps us take the property down.
Yeah, there you go. You just said it.
That's every offer that every buyer that gets any kind of financing
Yeah.
has a
What?
funding partner.
Right?
That's your cash buyer. Exactly. You just said it, Jamil. You
Well,
just said I'm a wholesaler.
Yeah, I think that agents and or people on the sidelines and or cash investors that have a problem with wholesalers are at risk of vertigo from the dizzying heights of their morality. You know what I mean? Like, come on, you don't know the situations. You don't know what's going on here. You don't know what's best for this property owner every single time. Sometimes they want to cash as is offer and they want to leave the 3 cats. They want to leave the 5 dogs. They want us to do the eviction. They want us to.
They don't want any showings.
They don't want any showings. They want to live in a house that they no longer own with money that they have from the sale of the property for a little bit to be able to buy another property.
We have a deal right now, Brent, where there's code violations that are racking up $200 a day to the seller. And we're helping them solve this whole problem and be able to sell this property. You think an agent's going to come in and solve that problem and stop the $200 a day on these code violations? I don't know any agents that would do that.
Nope.
And here we are doing that, right? Yeah. So this goes back to everything we talked about earlier. So they don't understand that, or they do understand that and they don't want to see that, or they're jealous that we make more money than they do, or whatever the issues are. But guys, we gotta stand up and be that beacon to the world, and we got to show the world that we are out here doing good, and we are solving problems, and we are bringing value to the market.
Yep, absolutely.
Carson, when is it the right time to take down a property? Super light cosmetics and a good spread, and then right on the MLS. How do I know when it's worth the risk versus taking a 15 to 20K fee?
You two are big taker downers, so I'd love to get your guys' opinions on here.
So Carson's a stud. I had him on my channel. He did a $40,000 wholesale deal on a Zillow Fizbo. Cool, super cool story. So Carson's awesome. So I'll tell you my formula, Brent. I'd love to hear what you do, but my formula, Carson, is I want to take the adjusted as is value. When I say adjusted, I want to look at like comps. So not ARV. Throw ARV out the window when you do the takedown. You're not thinking about that anymore. You're looking at as is. And when I say adjusted, I want it to sell quickly when I put it back up on the market. So I'm going to find it off market. I'm going to value it on its current value for a quick sale back on the MLS, right? And then I want to buy it at 70% of that adjusted as is value. Now, why 70%? That gives me room for closing fees, commissions, a trash out, and some carrying costs because I'm going to finance it. And then that also gives me room for a profit if I'm buying it at 70% of value. Now, if you do this right, you should make 2 to 4 times more than a traditional wholesale deal is what we're finding on our deals. We make 2 to 4 times more doing a takedown.
I love that.
Yeah. Net bottom line, you got to make double, Carson. Minimum.
At least double. Yeah.
At least double. And take into account the holding costs. Take into account the holding costs. Take into account the closing costs. Both sides typically take into account they're probably in this market going to hit you up for inspection items.
Mm-hmm.
In this market, they're going to hit you up for, they're going to do all of the inspections. They're going to do the sewer line inspection. They're going to do the roof inspection. They're going to do the regular inspection. They're going to do it all in this market because they're coming for you, bro. Every seller right now, they're coming for you. They're throwing all sorts of different inspection repair items at you and or a reduction of the purchase price. It's really
we're talking the full TSA your Jamil Damji inspection.
That's right. They're putting on the gloves and they're getting in deep, Now,
one thing to keep in mind on doing those takedowns, here's how we're financing them. We'll use hard money to do 90%. And right now we're really using Kiavi quite a bit because their rates are phenomenal. They're like 9% in 1 point. It's crazy in the markets. I think they're in most markets. And so they'll fund 90% of that purchase. And then we'll borrow private money for the balance. So the other 10%, and we'll roll into the PML, all the upfront fees, closing fees, and everything else. So we're truly into it 100% or zero. We're funding it 100%.
Jamil, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So, macro question from Nathaniel McCasland. He said, with the Fed pivoting here the other day, should I be buying as many fix and flips as I can get my hands on, knowing that by the time I'm done, the market will be hot again? So here's my take on it, right? And I love to get your guys' opinion, but I do believe we have a lot of pent up buying activity. I feel like, you know, if I'm a buyer, okay, I've been in jail since July of 2022, and they just popped the gate, and I'm in the red light district of Amsterdam. Okay, it's time. It's time. So I do think that right now is a good opportunity for you to be holding and buying some fix and flips. I think that we have a tremendous shortage of inventory on the market. I also believe that there is pricing has not diminished. It has not decreased. We've got so much runway in front of us. I think that it's actually a really good strategy right now to be fixing and flipping at the moment. Now, again, how long does that last for? I'm going to be paying attention to days on market. I'm going to be paying attention to a lot of things. But, you know, if the rates start hitting 4% or, you know, low fives, or we get to like 4, bets are off the table, because then you're going to get these people that are in rate lock that have been holding onto their inventory starting to dump. Because there was a lot of accidental landlords when the rates spiked and people were like, I'm never going to sell my 4% house. But if we start getting closer to that point, those people are going to start putting those houses on the market that they didn't actually want to be landlords in. Because there's a lot of homegrown landlords that became landlords as a result of the rate spike. And so I think that there's a ghost inventory sitting there that's rate dependent right now. And so that's my specific like feeling about it. I think for the next 6 months, maybe even 12 months, you know, you're going to smash on fixing and flipping, but I'd love to hear your guys' point of view. And again, I'm sorry for my analogies, guys. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I'll go.
Yep.
So I totally agree with you, Jamil. And I think there's some value in timing things and really taking into consideration, okay, what's the market going to do with this rate and all of that. But I also feel like if you acquire a good deal and you fix it up and you price it right on the back end and it's totally renovated, whether the rate's 5% or 5.5% or 6%, there's probably a buyer for that house. And so I wouldn't overthink it. Like I wouldn't be thinking, hey, this is a great deal. It pencils really well. It's a home run. I'm buying it really deep. I know what I got to do to fix it up. I really understand my values. You're going to move that property. So unless you're doing like massive volume, or, you know, you're really trying to like, you're playing the fringes where you're like, man, I don't know if this is a deal, but I'm going to count on appreciation with the market picking back up for it to be.
Don't speculate. Don't speculate.
So if you're speculating, I would say what Jamil's telling you about is maybe timing that speculation, and maybe that's in your favor. But guys, we never want to buy on future value. We want to buy, on appreciation, right? We want to buy on the last 6 months of value.
Yep.
Jerry, what are the things that you're looking at? For me, I'm looking at days on market, and I'm looking at pendings, and I'm looking at actives for me to understand where the market is trending. What are you guys looking at for where the market is trending?
Well, definitely. And even solds, like how far back are you going? Don't go too far back. Stay tight in the neighborhood. Like follow all the rules. But I put a ton of value on pendings, Jamil, because those are going to be your brand new comps. When your fix and flip comes back up for sale, that will now be the most recent sold comp.
My rhyme is pendings tell you where the market is trending.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. And
That's
I'll even call up the agent, and they're not supposed to tell you like what it's under contract at. But I'll ask them, I'll say, hey, so, you know, I'm doing I'm really valuing the market. I'm trying to decide if I should buy this property. I see you're pending right now. Where that sells is a big deal to me because it's going to help me understand the market. Is this thing under contract, you know, like near list price or like way off of list price, or like, you know, help me understand. And most agents will give me sort of a ballpark which is enough data for me to feel good about that now as a comp. And now I'm putting a lot of weight on that comp because, again, it's going to close in 30 days or whenever, and that's going to be a brand new sold comp for me. So I want to understand that pending.
I've been very successful at getting contract price on pendings, Jerry, when I don't promise a future listing, but I dangle the carrot at, hey, I'm flipping a house nearby. I'd love to see what you got for this last one that you're pending on right now so that I know where the market's trending for me. And, you know, maybe we can have a discussion on you helping us getting this one sold. And I don't promise nothing. Maybe we can have a discussion on you helping us get this one sold. Now talk to me. And they are going to go, they're just going to tell you all the things you want to know, bro.
Yep.
Everything.
Yeah.
I look at how many are active. How many are active in that neighborhood, in that area? Is it? And I'll tell you what, just as a quick little tip, if you scroll all the way down, and Jamil, I know that you know this, all the way down, it shows you like similar homes for sale and sold, right? And when you scroll all the way down and you're looking at it and all of the similar homes say for sale as opposed to sold, you got to really look at what's going on in that area, because if there's an excess of inventory that's available, you have to be 10% to 15% below for a fast sale on a flip. And if you're not trying to get a fast sale on your flip, you're going to be out of business quickly.
I remember, Jamil, the other day when we were doing our calls on Smelly Shelley's deal, when we comped it, there was like there was like a really good sold comp that was a flip nearby.
420. And there were actives at 380. So we made, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to, but yeah.
I was just going to say, we looked at the solds, we looked at the actives. Now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there were only a couple actives. So what would have happened is, what do you guys think would happen if Jamil and I look at the actives and there's 27 actives all at 400,000? We'd be freaking out like, okay, we don't want to be number 21 that's going to just sit here with all the other ones.
Yep.
So that's where actives plays a factor. It's letting you know your competition. Solds is the actual data, because actives don't mean anything till they sell, but it does tell you the competition, and you are looking at days on market. And then, like Jamil said, pending shows you where it's trending. But guys, these are skills that you have to learn. You cannot skip the process of learning how to value properties.
Yeah, who are you thumbing, Brent? What's going on?
We got a live studio audience here. So listen, you make money when you buy, guys. You know, with these flips, you make money when you buy. And the fact is, you want to be the best looking house at and around the best price, if not under the highest active in that area. I don't care if it's fixed up or not. People are putting their homes on the market at ridiculous prices. You could list your home for whatever you want. Doesn't mean a ready, willing, and able buyer is going to give it to you.
Well, and can I remember back during COVID when I mean, you could be a complete moron and you made money then because you bought it, and then 6 months later it's worth 50 grand more. And so everyone was overpaying. And then when the market shifted, a lot of people got caught with their pants down and stuff they couldn't sell anymore. I had a couple. I mean, I think it kind of happened to everybody a little bit, but some people got hit really bad.
I lost $500,000 on my flips at that time. Yeah.
I mean, that was a hard time because we were banking on that appreciation. So you want to avoid that. Like if you're looking at a flip right now and you're trying to decide, well, I want to make a decision on my buy price based on what I think interest rates are going to do. That's a little scary, guys. I would not think about it quite that way. I'd say, hey, if this pans out or doesn't pan out, I don't know, but I'm looking at really good data and I'm going to make my decision off of good data, not some kind of speculative thing.
Guys, I just want to point out, this has been one of the most informative episodes of Wholesale Hotline we've had. And you guys need to hit the like button. You need to subscribe to all 3 of our channels, all 4 of our channels. We don't have Pace with us right now, but I'm sure many of you are coming through in there, and show us a little bit of love by hitting that like button, because the algorithm is what allows this to go out to other people. And the more you like this show, the more this show gets sent out to other folks. So do your part. If you found any value in the things that we've been talking about over the last hour and 20 minutes, it takes you moments to move your fingers just up a little bit to do that thing. You know what I mean?
Great questions too today.
And 7.7, guys, 7.7 is the median average, well, the average interest rate since 1971, 7.7% for mortgages, right? So we're still well under that. So if you think, oh man, nobody's going to go and buy a house now because it's in the fives, they will. But you have to have, if you're going to be doing a flip, make sure that you're the most reasonably priced, best looking property. Don't push values right now. The market will push values for you. If your property is that popular, it'll get bid up. So make sure that you're running your numbers on a very conservative approach here in this market, especially in the last quarter. This last quarter is going to be bananas, right? October, November.
What do you think is going to happen in the last quarter here?
Of an election
guys?
year like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
What are we
think
thinking?
Listen, attention management is everything.
Mm.
What people put their attention on matters. So you're going to see a lot of people sitting on the sidelines just watching what happens in the election here. You're going to see some cash buyers sit down a little bit. You're going to see some sellers wait for the dust to settle. This quarter, more than any other part of this year, you have to 10x your efforts. You got to really push because everybody else is going to be like, oh, it's slowing down. I'm going to go start a TikTok shop. You know what I mean? They're going to go into something else that's more money making so that they can, build up their income. When we're focused on real estate now, just make sure you're 10xing your output in your efforts for this business, and you'll be wildly rewarded in the first quarter of 2025, and you'll finish this year really strong. But you're going to see some people slowing down, sitting on the sidelines, seeing how things shake out. It's going to be a lot of drama. It's going to be a tremendous amount of drama either way, right? And so the country's going to have to get the realization of what happens, and that'll carry on into the holidays. And tickety boo, we're in 2025, raw dogging it, just like the King Jerry Norton. What do you guys think?
I don't even know what raw dogging means, guys. So
you do. You really do.
You do. You do. It's how you've lived your life, brother.
No, what do you think, Jerry? What do you think the last quarter of this year?
I mean, what I hear you saying, Brent, is all this uncertainty is going to cause people to sit the sidelines a little bit. So,
yep.
And I think that's we're starting to certainly see that, where there's just a lot of people not sure what to do, what's going on, what to do, where it's going to go. So, we just gotta take that into consideration. But for me, that just means double down, right? Just double down your efforts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, go ahead.
No.
Well, I think right now we're in this situation where, again, every 4 years, I've been doing this a long time, right? Elections have happened in my world, multiple times in my tenure as a wholesaler. And every time we get into the same thing, every election cycle, we get into this world where people are like, everything's going to change. The entire world is going to collapse. This
is the end.
The future of the Matrix depends on which Neo we elect.
Yeah.
And the reality is that, it doesn't, because Lawrence Fishburne is always buying houses. Yep. And he may take a seat for a moment, and he may chill out for a little while, but at the end of the day, the business keeps going. We all need to live in a home. And even when we had 8% rates, people were buying houses. People were flipping houses. People were selling houses. And we are getting back into a really good time with our rates. And I bet you we'll be in the fives in no time. And this is what's important. Don't let the news scare you. You are a real estate investor and you are an entrepreneur. And anytime that you allow those kinds of thoughts to be the dictator of what you're going to do, you've outsourced your agency. You've outsourced your agency to a news cycle. You've outsourced your agency to a president. You've outsourced your agency to everything outside of you. At the end of the day, friends, you know what you're doing. If you value houses the right way, and if you do good business, and if you get things at a good deal, you are absolutely going to smash. You're going to smash at this business. It's a meritocracy, friends, not a democracy. So get out there and own your merit.
That's so good. I remember when, are we out of time? I remember when COVID happened, and for the first day, I just sat and watched the news, like, what in the world is happening? Second day, I called all my lenders and I said, I'm good for it. I'll come through. Don't worry, like reassured them all. And I had a bunch of deals going on. And then after that, I just put my head down and plowed right through. Like I went on a buying spree. I bought so many deals during that moment where everybody was sitting in the sidelines, and they were the best deals I could have got because the market then exploded after that.
Yeah.
And so like now is a good time.
Yeah, conversations and offers. If it's a good market, conversations and offers. If it's a bad market, conversations and offers. If it's a flat market, conversations and offers. What we do doesn't change. It doesn't change. And we make money when we buy. We make money when we buy. Find good deals, raise funds, and property management. That's the three main big factors when it comes to being a real estate entrepreneur. And start with step number one, find great deals. When you find great deals, you're going to be introduced to the top performers in your marketplace where you want to focus. And when you have that introduction, you're going to be like them. You're going to be around them. You're going to, like Jamil was saying, you're going to be in that energy. You know what I mean? They're going to be able to be around you and influence the decisions that you make and make you from, paying a lot of the stupid tax. So, but nothing happens if you're just staying in education. Nothing happens if you're sitting in college, and this YouTube is your YouTube university. Nothing happens. You're just gaining information, but you're not implementing the information.
Yeah, Brent, the deal of a lifetime comes around how often?
Once a week.
Yes, sir.
If you're in the game.
Once a week.
Guys, if I could, we've got 3 minutes left, and I'm sorry to hijack it, but I do want to talk about something. So, I have a friend, Alec Loren, and she reached out to me last week. She's a friend of Wholesale Hotline. She loves Brent. She loves Jerry, Pace, myself, and the woman has reached out to me last week, and she's got terminal cancer. And she asked to be able to have the community come together and help her attend a Joe Dispenza retreat so that she could find a way to potentially get some peace, some solace, and maybe even a healing from it, And so I've been spending the last week fundraising for her. We're so close to our goal of $15,000. We're just a few $100s away from it. Thank you so much, Jerry, for your generosity and all that. Guys, I'm going to put a link in the chat. Listen, this lady has been with us for years, and she now needs us to show up for her. So right now, I just put a link in the chat. If anybody, if you have the capacity to help her, I would appreciate it. If you have the capacity to share the link, share the link. If you have the capacity to send her love and energy, send her love and good energy. That is all I ask. I want her to see that the real estate community is everything she thought it was, everything she knows it to be, that we all stood in and helped carry her to this miracle, because I believe a miracle is about to happen. So I just put a link again in the chat, guys. If you have any desire to help, please help.
Awesome. And Jamil, that's amazing that you're helping her do that. Such a big heart to do that.
I can't help it, man. She's a great human being. She's a great human being, and she needs us today. She needs us today.
And Joe Dispenza has done some miracle work. So
absolutely. And I've been going to Joe Dispenza retreats for the last couple of years, and I've watched it. I've seen it with my own eyes. We can do this, guys. We can all witness a miracle happen together.
Close with a prayer, Jamil.
Father God, we love you so much, Lord. Thank you for today. Thank you for opening all our eyes and giving us breath. for giving us the minds to connect and communicate with each other. Lord, we are so grateful for that. God, we ask that you guide each of us to your purpose for our lives, so that the steps we take are your steps, the words we speak, your words, the actions we take, your actions. God, we ask that you guide us to those individuals that will be of benefit to us, either through a financial gain or a lesson we need to learn. And we also ask that you deflect us from those individuals that could waste our time or bring us harm. Lord, for any of our friends here that are in need of any additional understanding of the concepts that we teach here on Wholesale Hotline, we just pray for perfect clarity in our minds. And for anyone suffering through any physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual pain, we just pray for perfect healing in our lives. And Lord, it is with humble hearts, and in your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Love you guys. We'll see you next week. Wholesale Hotline. We're out.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
I didn't say nothing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.